All right, you guys, we are back. It's your boy Q, and up next we have is Drake even safe in LA. Shout out to Rap Lore for the video. Honestly, due to the fact that he's been allegedly getting the song banned at certain places, and the fact that a venue he's collaborating with is canceling shows for TDE artists last minute, I could see why some people would feel a certain way, especially being that these artists are heavily influential in LA. TDE is really active when it comes to the street stuff. And yeah, I feel like that's not something you kind of want to egg on. I feel like all this should just honestly be kept in rap and in the culture and not spill out into violence. But like when you start doing stuff that you know is agitating certain people, do you really want to add all this extra stress that already comes from being one of the top pop stars in the world? Like LA is a place where you can't not go. You have to hit up LA. Like Cali alone is the fourth biggest economy in the world. Like in the world, I'm talking about like countries. Cali is bigger than most countries like GDP. It's somewhere that you don't really want to miss. Toronto, yeah, you can afford to not go, but the US is still probably the biggest market that people want to break into when they're doing music and stuff like that. That's where you have K-pop and all these other genres that really want to get like a bigger presence in the USA because we are huge consumers. But yeah, anybody that's gonna book at his venue, man, if you have any allegiance to like Kendrick or affiliations, just don't even think about booking there. Just book somewhere else for now because just the rare chance that your show might get canceled. But yeah, enough dilly dallying. Let's jump right into the video. Again, it's entitled "Is Drake Even Safe in LA?"
Drake might have just compromised his safety by beefing with Kendrick Lamar, but just how vulnerable is he?
That was a perfect fucking jump scare.
With the Not Like Us music video in constant rotation, fans are still talking about the beef between Kendrick
For real, and that song ain't going nowhere anytime soon, man. I feel like once that album comes out, that's gonna get another resurgence.
and Drake. But one thing a lot of people overlooked is the street politics behind the music. When Kendrick and Drake's diss tracks made plenty of serious allegations and personal attacks, they also dealt heavily with LA's well-documented gang culture. Los Angeles has long been recognized as one of the most dangerous cities for rappers, and it's possible that Drake may have made himself completely
It's crazy. I've gotten a few comments of people that sleep on LA, and I think because you see palm trees and you see Hollywood. First of all, Hollywood isn't what you think Hollywood is. Hollywood proper, the town of Hollywood, is nasty. It's a dirty part of LA. I'm not even gonna front. But yeah, I think people don't realize how active it really is. Like it really is the most dangerous city for rappers. Like LA gets it popping, people. Don't be swayed by like the beautiful scenery.
unwelcome after challenging one of the West Coast's favorite stars. But what about the time Drake was almost set up by gang members in LA? And also, what's the backstory behind LA's deadly reputation? How did Drake try and lean on his own West Coast connections to try and beat Kendrick at the height of their beef?
His biggest mistake was like mentioning YG. Or I can't even say biggest because there was a plethora of them, but like it was a miscalculation, bro. Hit him up first and see where he stands. Bro, like I know with you and some of these people, you guys think you guys have a relationship, but a lot of this is just business. And you're trying to compare that to like these relationships that honestly, like these people are from the same communities. And yeah, they'd have a little more in stake in backing the person that's from their community.
We're gonna go even further to investigate the unprecedented show of gang unity at Kendrick's historic pop-out concert just a few weeks ago. With a guest list this stacked with different gang sets, what exactly is Drake up against? And maybe most importantly, did Kendrick really chase Drake out of LA?
You know, a couple of my from my hood got off and, you know, had a couple disputes. And
He moved out, obviously. He sold his like crib out here, at least one of them. But I feel like it's not even like the fact that you have to worry about Kendrick. It's about worrying about the other people around Kendrick and the people just in LA that really do see this guy as some type of hero. And not just that, but there's a lot of people that do stuff just for the clout. People really take these beefs like to heart as if they're a part of it.
fights.
Drake himself allegedly almost fell victim to LA's streets years ago until a West Coast rapper intervened. The game has long been considered one of the torchbearers of the West Coast. He shot to fame in the 2000s as a protege of Dr. Dre and a member of 50 Cent's group G Unit. The game has also spoken openly about his gang.
The game gets a lot of hate right now, a lot of hate, sometimes justifiably so, or many times justifiably so because of this, just the stuff he says. But like at one point, he was an elite, promising talent. His first album was a classic, and yeah, people thought he was gonna go like very far in the industry. But dude, he made a bunch of bonehead like decisions with beefing with the wrong people, and it's gotten to the point where yeah, you could rap, but you're more of a headache to deal with. So he's kind of been like put on the fringe of hip hop. Other than people like a Kanye, who obviously like they have a closer relationship than most others, and they probably feel like pariahs, I guess, themselves. So maybe they connect on that. Like and but yeah, dude, he's like burned a lot of people and a lot of bridges, and it's not like surprising to see where he's at in his career.
Ties. He's famously well known for being a Blood and for being a member of the Cedar Block Pyru set in Compton. The game's success in music and notoriety in the streets also meant that he was seen as a mentor figure for many up-and-coming West Coast artists. Kendrick Lamar's first tour had him opening for the game as a hype man, and other artists like Nipsey Hussle have paid tribute to the game's influence on them over the years. But as it turns out, the game also stepped in to protect Drake in what could have been a really tragic incident. In multiple interviews, Compton rapper The Game claimed that in 2015, Drake's safety was jeopardized by unnamed gang members.
He's so quick too. Yeah, you're doing some cool stuff for people, but he's so quick to publicize it. And sometimes it comes in a way where he's sort of trying to humble the other person. Like not just this situation, but the situation where he's speaking on Kendrick and their relationship, how when like Kendrick was coming up, he was broke and he put him in his truck and he was like Kendrick was just in awe. Like he was like it sounded like he was sunning him. So yeah, I do feel like there is like some type of jealousy there. And it could just be stemming from the fact that like, dude, he really wants a relationship with Dre. Like, but I think Dre is one of those people that bro has pretty much like, dude, like is done with him. Like, especially with how he's like behaved with like 50 and M and people that he holds really dear. So yeah, I feel like there's like a hint of jealousy when it comes to that. So it really is plausible that the game just doesn't like Kendrick because
who were monitoring his movements and wanted Game to help set him up. Instead, Game refused and offered Drake his protection. In their collab 100, Game raps about the incident in detail.
Called me to set you up, want me to come and wet you up, cause you are out of town like Biggie.
Game needing to protect Drake from being set up just goes to show that Drake knows all too well how dangerous LA could be. But how did LA get the reputation for being so deadly for rappers in the first place?
That was the culture. That's what
gangster rap culture was birthed out here.
What it was. It wasn't dudes just pulling out and just shooting your ass. The dudes beat your ass back then.
In February of 1997, the Notorious B.I.G. traveled to LA on a high-profile publicity tour for his upcoming album, Life After Death. From the very start, there were concerns about his safety. Biggie.
It's crazy. He didn't even want to go on that trip. He was trying to go over to the UK, but I think Puff kind of pressured, which honestly lends a little more credence to like the fact that he may have had something to do with his death as well, because there's been rumors obviously about that for a little bit. Biggie at the time did want to go and start his own label and do his own thing with Junior Mafia, but Puff was the type of person that at that time was not going to give you his masters. So I know they were in a dispute over that. So it definitely is plausible that Diddy has something to do with it. Like having Big gone, honestly, is going to be really big for his pockets, pardon the pun, because at the end of the day, he'll own basically all the masters that are ever tied to Biggie. There's been films made. There's been so much IP off of like the Biggie name. Biggie duets and remixes and just verses come up all the time that like, dude, the dude's been a money printer for Diddy for a long time. But yeah, dude, it's really, really crazy.
He had been embroiled in an infamous East Coast-West Coast war, a years-long feud that involved some of the biggest names in hip-hop. At that point in time, rappers from LA were considered unsafe in New York, and vice versa. Biggie's biggest rival, Tupac Shakur, who represented the West Coast, had been murdered just a few months prior. Big didn't know it at the time, but this trip to California would end up being his last. From the very start, Biggie's visit to the city was tense. He admitted to hiring additional security for the trip, and he was...
Yeah, at that point, is it even worth it, man? If you know that the threat is that viable, that it's that real, I say just skip that leg of the tour. This is literally within a year of the Pac death. Like, the wounds are still fresh, man.
Booed by the audience when he appeared on stage at the Soul Train Awards.
What's up, Cali?
On March 9th, Biggie was leaving an industrial after-party when he was shot 4 times and killed. The murder of Notorious B.I.G. gave LA a reputation for being unsafe, but that reputation only became more intense in recent
Pop
years.
Smoke too.
In 2020, New York rapper Pop Smoke was renting an Airbnb in the Hollywood Hills when he was targeted by a home invasion. Pop was pistol whipped and shot over his Rolex watch, which was later sold for just $2,000. Great job. In 2022, Florida rapper Kodak Black was shot in the leg and injured outside of a party hosted by Justin Bieber on Super Bowl weekend.
And this is crazy because this incident happened over in West Hollywood, which is not the hood. It's a very affluent neighborhood. A lot of money in West Hollywood. So that was very surprising. I feel like the biggest thing is just being aware of where you're at. Like, this happens on Melrose all the time. Dude, people go anywhere where people go to spend money. Best believe that there's a strong possibility that there's someone outside waiting to see what people are coming out with, because at that point they're just walking easy targets.
While the shooter was never identified or arrested, Kodak insisted that it was a random attack. And just months later, Philly rapper PNB Rock was robbed and killed in front of his girlfriend while eating at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Police later arrested 3 people in connection with PNB.
Yeah, man, that was crazy because I want to say that was like a family that got him, if I'm not mistaken. There was a teenager involved in that as well. And this whole situation spawned for the fact that like PNB Rock wanted to get some food. He just happened to go to a Roscoe's that was like in a very, very bad part of town. There's tons of other Roscoe's he could have hit, but he did have that like no one's ever gonna touch me like mentality. So we aren't invincible people. I know we are the main character in our own movie, so we try to think of ourselves as like invincible and nothing wrong could happen. Just be aware of be aware. Like, you're traveling around in like a luxury car, decked out in diamonds, going into the hood, and there's sharks out there. Dude, the world's in a tough place, man. You got to be smart about your decisions, man, and take calculated risks if you're gonna take the risks at all.
Shooting. PNB Rock's murder sparked an outcry from Ice-T, who grew up in South LA.
I love LA, but LA's violent. LA is a very, very f***ed up place.
Ice-T had previously received a lot of attention for advising out-of-town rappers to play it safe while visiting LA, claiming that the city is home to over 50,000 active gang members. The thing is, LA isn't just treacherous for outsiders. Rappers who claim the City of Angels have lost their lives in the very same streets. In 2015, Compton rapper YG survived the shooting while working at a recording studio. In 2018, Nipsey Hussle was shot 10 times while standing outside his clothing store in LA's Crenshaw.
And that was crazy, man. That wasn't just a stranger that shot him. That was a homie or a former homie that he called a snitch. And you got to remember, that's a very strong word to put on somebody in the hood. It can get them bodied. But yeah, man, rest in peace to Nip.
District and killed. And in 2022, South Central local Drakeo the Ruler was swarmed by reportedly 60 men wearing masks who stabbed him to death while at a LA music festival. The sheer amount of violence.
It's crazy, man. Rest in peace to him. He's definitely a huge influence in the way people from LA rap now. A lot of his flows and the way his cadences is very unique to him, and dude, tons of people have taken that flow. Even Kendrick has taken the flow. He's definitely underrated when it comes to that because he never got that commercial success.
Violence and crimes targeting rappers have definitely earned LA its reputation. Ice-T said it best, it's the Wild West for a reason.
Oh,
LA is an illusion. I could stand out here on the corner and any minute, like cars will pull up.
Exactly.
But when Drake dropped his diss song, Family Matters, everyone was looking to see how the gang affiliates that Drake shouted out would respond. In Family Matters, Drake shouted out specific artists well known for their street affiliations in LA, claiming that they were active in the streets while Kendrick isn't. First, there's YG, who has long claimed the Treetop Pyru set in Compton and has a long history of collaborating with Drake. Their hit single
and goes to get called weird right after for doing that.
Who Do You Love from YG's debut album went double platinum and peaked at number 54 on the Billboard Hot 100. Their follow-up collaboration, Why You Always Hatin', was nearly as successful. It peaked at number 62 and also went double platinum. Fire. But after Family Matters came out, YG dropped a song called Weird that many fans speculated was a direct response to Drake's name drop.
When the smoke, don't ever mention my name. You gon' have me jeopardizing my fame, jeopardizing the gang, jeopardizing when you hate.
Next, Drame named.
Yo, low-key, YG isn't getting like the hype around him right now, but he's been dropping some really fire stuff, man.
Check the Game, who, as I mentioned before, is a flag-carrying member of the Cedar Block Pyrus and is well known for speaking on gang politics. But he's also famous for having worked closely with both.
The way Drake is hugging that dude is
on gang politics. But he's also famous for having
the way Drake hugging on him. That's an intimate hug right there, man. That's real love.
having worked closely with both Drake and Kendrick. However, in response to Family Matters, he opted not to take sides. He posted a video where he saluted Kendrick, but also referred to
kind of did. Like I said, I feel like there is like a hint of jealousy, and he did basically like call Drake his brother. And I don't know if that's the smartest move, like when obviously the beef is so active, is people are going to automatically assume that you pick sides. Even if you really didn't and you were just like, yo, showing some love to him.
Drake as his so-called brother. Finally, Drake shouted out none
allegedly, I heard that, like, I want to say Drake has let him borrow money before. Like, I don't know. That's just like through the grapevine rumors.
other than Chris Brown himself. Breezy grew up in Virginia, but he's famously forged close ties with the Fruittown Pyrus set, which is another Compton gang active in LA. Not only has Chris Brown famously been seen throwing up Fruittown gang signs, but unnamed gang sources spoke to TMZ and confirmed they've given Chris the green light to act as an affiliate of the Fruittown set. Chris didn't directly respond to Drake's shout out, but multiple videos have got.
Of course not, because if you active, you're not going to incriminate yourself. But I've heard some stories, man, of stuff that's gone down in music video sets, and he definitely an active dude.
Gone viral of Chris dancing and turning up to Not Like Us while in the club, even rapping along to the lyrics as Kendrick savages Drake. Pretty much every LA artist, except for Game, that Drake tried to click up with ended up turning their backs on him to side with Kendrick. But did Kendrick's blockbuster pop-out concert in Inglewood provide even more clues about.
Yeah, man, but again, these are all people that have a way tighter bond with Kendrick than Drake does. Like, these people are from the same community, so to think that they wouldn't side with people from their community, bro, like YG, Kendrick, etc., like these people are from the same area, so like, bam. Yeah, so comparing those two relationships would be totally different. One is a colleague who you may be cool with and every once in a while party with, versus somebody that probably came up around the same time or was a mentor to another and stuff like that. Those relationships are just different.
What Drake's up against?
Today, I saw Whack 100 post Drake, you're good at LA, you ain't gotta worry about nothing. If I'm Drake, I don't know if Whack is being sincere.
The pop-out concert on Juneteenth featured a murderous row of some of LA's most prominent artists, as well as a ton of up-and-coming acts. Industry heavyweights like Roddy Ricch, Ty Dolla $ign, and Tyler the Creator all performed, while up-and-coming artists like Rembo also got their own chance to shine. In fact, the event was celebrated as one of the biggest showcases of West Coast talent in history. But at the same time, the pop-out was a gathering for some of Drake's most prominent ops, both on stage and off. Kendrick even brought out Dr. Dre himself.
LeBron was having the time of his life in the crowd.
To perform the I See Dead People intro of Not Like Us, which left zero doubt that the legendary NWA founder was riding with Kendrick through thick and thin. But what's even more,
I feel like that's a point that shouldn't even be questioned. Like, yeah, man, like Kendrick was an Aftermath artist. Like CDE and Aftermath partnered up for those albums early on anyway. And there's definitely a connection there. And he really did take him in as a protege. Like, yeah, so I feel like it makes perfect sense. And honestly, the only option that Dre would side with Kendrick.
More significant was at the end of the show where Kendrick brought every artist who performed on stage for a group photo. Kendrick commented on how emotional the moment was for him, taking care to point out the significance of different gang sections sharing a stage peacefully. Kendrick noted that there was Crips, Bloods, and Pyrus sets all there assembled on stage together in an unprecedented show of unity that Drake should probably take notice of.
Endorsements.
Everybody on the stage got fallen soldiers, but we right here right now celebrating all of them.
The cross-section of artists who appeared.
That's another reason why the moment was so dope. Like, as big as it was for the culture, it was super big socially too. So it made a cultural impact and it made a social impact, which is really, really dope.
At the pop-out represents a huge portion of LA's complicated gang politics. Schoolboy Q, Kendrick's longtime label mate when he was at TDE, has openly repped the Hoover Criminals, a set that was once so notorious for beefing with rivals that their affiliation with the Crips was dropped in the 90s. Meanwhile, J-Rock, another close, longtime associate of Kendrick, is known as a bounty hunter Watts Blood, a set active in LA's Nickerson Gardens projects. YG, who's a treetop pyro, made a high-profile appearance where he not only
Yeah, because you got Bloods that don't mess with other Bloods, Crips that don't mess with these Crips. You got Bloods that mess with some of these Crips. Like, dude, the geopolitical state of LA gang culture is nuts.
He performed his own set, but even danced along to the Not Like Us while Kendrick performed it 5 times in a row, stomping all over Drake. Shout out to him on Family Matters. Ty Dolla $ign is admitted to gangbanging as a Blood, along with Westside Boogie, who's also known to have Blood affiliations. While Roddy Ricch has declined to broadcast his specific set affiliations, he's admitted to joining the Crips when he was younger. And Remble has already openly spoke about his own Crip affiliations. Kendrick Lamar himself has been adamant that he was never a gangbanger, but grew up in an area of Compton notorious for having a West Side.
Of course, to think he don't got family members that's banging, to think that he don't got like close friends that's banging. He grew up in that environment. Like, he witnessed it, and he doesn't claim to be a gangster, but he's from the hood regardless.
Side Pyru affiliation, and has appeared many times in public with Westside Pyru members. And that's only naming the artists
Kendrick
on
is active
stage.
in the community.
Prominent artists in the crowd included well-known Drake collaborator turned op Rick Ross from Florida, and The Weeknd, who reps Toronto. Snoop Dogg, who's well known as a Long Beach Crip, didn't appear at the pop-out, but posted a video of support after, celebrating Kendrick uniting different gang sets and declaring him the king.
K-Dot, you are the king of the West. That's the kind of kings do.
Plus, Kendrick's lyrics on songs like Not Like Us and Euphoria allude to consequences if Drake ever decides to cross the line again. On Not Like Us, Kendrick said, "You think the Bay gonna let you disrespect pot, nigga? I think that Oakland show might be your last stop." Sounding a lot like a green light for Oakland to get busy if Drake.
Yeah, you got to be really careful too, because obviously if something were to happen in Oakland, they're going to look at those lyrics. But yeah, like I said, I don't think Kendrick is like the biggest threat when it comes to like Drake's safety. Like, we really got to be worried about like the random person that has their own intentions and stuff like that, whether it's for clout, whether it's to just straight rob you, or whether it's to like defend the honor of Kendrick in LA and stuff like that.
Drake ever decides to come through the city again. And on Euphoria, Kendrick's bar, "Don't speak to the family, Crody. It gets deep in the family, Crody," was widely interpreted as Kendrick warning Drake not to drag his family into the beef. But it's also very likely that Kendrick was warning Drake of how deep his family ties go when it comes to his connections to different gang sets across the city. Kendrick warned Drake to keep it a friendly fade, which in LA lingo is anything but friendly. Catching a friendly fade is pretty much the same as getting packed up by your enemies. And that sounds like an implicit threat if there ever was one. The Pop-Out show was definitely a landmark moment for street unity, but also broadcasted just how much Kendrick is respected throughout rival sets in LA.
Big Crips with Bloods and Crips and Hoovers, but just to see that, bro, it's progress.
Of course.
So here's the real question.
Yeah, man. Like, major change isn't made from one day to the next. It's a series of these minor changes and improvements that build to this greater impact, obviously. But the fact that we did feel that social impact, it was freaking awesome.
Question: how has Drake reacted to all of LA turning on him? For the most part, he's been pretty silent about his new surprise ops. For example, he hasn't publicly mentioned his longtime collaborator YG and the assumed subliminal shots that YG took on him on Weird. But in the aftermath of the beef, he seems to be taking his safety in LA a lot more seriously. Just days after Not Like Us shook up the rap game, Drake listed his $88 million mansion in Beverly Hills for sale. While it's possible that this was a real estate move that was planned out way before.
Now, there is a lot of things going down in like the real estate market, especially when it comes to these mansions. There's a mansion tax that I want to say they're instituting, so maybe that has something to do with it. But the timing couldn't have been like worse for optics anyway. But yeah, he bought a crib in Houston. He's been chilling there. That's his like honestly second home. When he couldn't pop off the first time when he was first coming out as an artist, he went down there, and that's where he really like became a method actor.
Before things really popped off, the timing seems pretty unmistakable. From the looks of it, Drake seems to be dropping his ties to LA and maybe trying to stay way out of Kendrick's way. More recently, Drake has been spotted spending a lot more time at his newly purchased $15 million ranch in Texas. This, of course, comes in the aftermath of violence erupting at his house in Toronto, where multiple intruders were apprehended by police and his security guard was shot. While there aren't any confirmed ties between that shooting and this beef,
yeah, I want to say a few days apart was also the shooting at Cash XO, which is The Weeknd's manager. One of his guards got shot as well, and then a guard over at Drake's place, same thing. So there honestly might be more of a connection there, but who knows? These could also just be like random robbery attempts that go wrong.
It's pretty obvious that Drake is in a precarious situation. For Kendrick's part, he's even taken notice of Drake's change of location. While performing his diss track Euphoria at the pop-out, Kendrick subtly changed his lyrics to reflect he was monitoring his enemy's whereabouts. While in the original version, Kendrick claims that he and Drake are on a 3-hour time difference, and a shout out to Drake living in Toronto, his live performance had Kendrick remarking on how they were only 2 hours apart now that Drake is cooped up in Texas. Pretty slick. It really
Kendrick is all about the details, fam. Like, there's no denying that.
Looks like Kendrick chased Drake out of LA, and that his ops are so persistent that he had to relocate entirely to Texas. At this point, Drake hasn't been back to LA since things got heated. But you know all eyes are gonna be on him when he finally makes his return. Will he still be able to move around the city, or has his disrespect of the West Coast changed things?
It already is tough moving around when you're an artist of that level. When you're a public figure of that level in any industry, it's gonna be hard to move around. There is a little more level of caution that you have to take now because obviously there's more people that are agitated with you. And I don't even think you really have to worry about Kendrick. You have to worry about the regular citizen that's out here that would, I'm going to do this for the honor of Kendrick. Never having met Kendrick at all, people have taken upon themselves to do stuff for people for less. I feel like Drake should honestly tighten up security even more. And then when you move out here, honestly, just come here, get your money, like go to your hotel room, chill, because right now it is a little hot. Who knows how things cool down in the future? There's probably a bunch of people now that would try to make a name by pressing him. There's tons of people now that we see like going viral for like screaming like A minor at him and just referencing Kendrick and stuff like that. Like, so I think that's going to continue. If he's out here, he's going to have that same treatment because he's getting this treatment in other cities. So you can only imagine out here in LA. You have fans out here calling up the radio stations and demanding and threatening DJs to not play anything Drake. So I can only imagine that they would like do something if they saw him in public, whether it's like scream something at him or just like just be threatening or do something in a threatening manner. I wouldn't want to live like that. So maybe it is in Drake's best interest to kind of like try to smooth things over and don't keep agitating unless you're going to re-engage, but there's consequences to all that stuff. So yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I think, honestly, for people of this level, they're already moving super cautiously. Obviously, he's going to need to up the level of security and like the awareness when he's out here. Because LA is a place where, like, I guess it's any major city. People post up near these places where a lot of money is being spent, where there's these famous jewelers. They're out there. Melrose, a lot of people will go to Melrose because they know people are spending money on stuff. Move with caution. But yeah, let me know if you guys think Drake is safe in LA. Do you think he'll be able to move as he was moving before? Or do you think, like me, he's going to have to at least tighten up security, at least for a little bit? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button, guys. It does the channel wonders. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are freaking awesome. We're like quickly coming up on 2K. So definitely hit that subscribe button. And yeah, hope you guys love the video and I hope to see you guys soon.